Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, Oregon, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan, Oklahoma, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame. Those are your first top 10 of the college football playoff Week 1 rankings. Simeon's got lots of opinions. I got lots of opinions. Plus, I went 5-1 last week. I'm a steamy 8-2 in the last 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, the last 2 weeks, Simeon's hit his lock of the week. You better stick around because we got lots more where this came from.
Live from Lidditz, Pennsylvania, with Micaiah Schlicker. Produced by Simeon Schlicker. It is the 4th and 1 podcast.
Welcome everyone. We are a whole bunch of professionals this week. This is the 4th and 1 podcast. Welcome to Week 10, everybody. Yeah, so the first week of the college football playoff rankings, so this is week 1 of the college football playoff rankings, came out on Tuesday. Boy, do we got opinions on that, and we will get to that, so please do stick around. But we are coming to you live from Lidditz, Pennsylvania. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Micaiah. Simeon's on the other end. How are we doing? I'm using my wife's computer this week, so hopefully no crashes happened and we're able to just kind of run smoothly all the way through. Thank you, everyone who kind of stuck with us last week through the ups and downs, but that's why we're the most terrible podcast on the interwebs. It was quite the week last week, and I'm just really pumped to be here today. So you heard the top 10. Again, we'll get to our top 10 later. We will take apart. Simeon's going to go crazy on the top 10. He's going to go crazy on the college football playoff rankings in general. It's so good. It's so good. My main man, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I may build a Lego set while we do this, just for kicks and giggles. Probably won't, though, because we're feeling really professional today, you know.
Well, you know, we got that professional music. I am 8-2, as I said in the open. I am 30-18 on the season.
You know,
in my picks.
I'm not doing too bad with my picks on the NFL for the season. I'm pulling them up right now. I am 83-38 for the season.
You know what? Yeah. You know, that is steamy. If you put you would make some money if you put 10 cents on all your picks. Yeah. Between the ones you've lost and the ones you won, you would make some decent money, I feel. So, plus, you got 2 straight lock of the week.
Yes, Chelsea did beat, I think they were playing West Ham last Saturday. That was a Saturday lock, not a Sunday lock. I ended up making a couple bucks on that. So, watch out for those extra Premier League picks coming up here.
Simeon's feeling tasty about himself. He is just feeling hot. You're feeling yourself a little bit, aren't you, huh?
I'm in danger.
All right, let's get, you know what? There's no time to waste. There's no time like the present. Let's get right into the check down, everybody. The losses for Conference USA just keep coming. Marshall brings the state of West Virginia to the Sun Belt as Marshall leaves Conference USA for the Sun Belt, giving Conference USA yet another loss. I believe that leaves them with 5 schools. We talked about it in last week's podcast and the week before. Conference USA is now definitely on a crossroads. Meanwhile, the Sun Belt is making a push to be the definitely second best, if not first best, group of 5 conference. As my dog is, I don't know, he's doing something weird. It doesn't really matter. I think it's very interesting. Again, you're going to get a lot of conference realignment. I think we both originally thought that it was going to be the Sun Belt taking a massive hit, but as it turns out, Conference USA is the conference that takes a massive hit because of Texas and Oklahoma leaving. It all is a trickle-down effect, everybody. Everyone's figured this out by now if you've listened to this podcast. So because Texas and Oklahoma are leaving for the SEC, That created the gap for the Big 12. They bring in a bunch of AAC schools, which leaves a gap in that conference. They go poach instead of poaching the Sun Belt, they poach Conference USA, and now Conference USA is slowly crumbling. Coach Patterson is out at TCU. I didn't know. I was leaving you room for comment.
Oh.
That's all I was doing.
Got it.
And I forgot Gary Patterson's first name there first.
There we go.
He came to me. Gary Patterson is out at TCU after 20 years being with the school. Me and Mom were talking this morning about kind of how everything these programs want these new coaches that they get to turn around the program immediately and compete for a national championship, or at least make the college football playoff in the first 3 years, but definitely in the first 5. Gary Patterson was at TCU for 20 years. Listen, you have to remember, TCU was the original small school to compete and beat big-time programs in big games. TCU used to be in the Mountain West. They made the Rose Bowl with Andy Dalton one year. As their quarterback, they beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. Listen, so all of these, Boise State kind of was in that, but, you know, all these Cincinnati's, UCF's, Memphis in past years, they're all standing on the shoulders of Gary Patterson and TCU. I think that this is just a classic case of he's been there 20 years. He's kind of just lost the kids a little bit. He really isn't. He might not be up with modern-day coaching and modern-day offense. He's a defensive-minded coach, but his defenses get shredded every single week. So they've mutually agreed to part ways. TCU wanted him to stick around until the end of the season. He said, nah, I'd just rather leave now, which is more than fine. So TCU becomes a big-time, well, not a big conference program. They're in the Big 12. I wouldn't call them big time, but, you know, they were just crushing Ole Miss not that long ago in the college football playoff. That first year, they should have made the college football playoff, in my personal opinion.
I thought they did.
But
no, they didn't. They were one of the first two out.
Well, it's because they didn't have a conference championship game.
Right.
That, between them and Baylor. So, yeah, so they were originally what the Big 12 stood on, and now with TCU gone, Gary Patterson gone from TCU, they look in other alternate routes. Derrick Henry probably was going to be the MVP of the NFL, has a foot injury, and is now out for the remainder of the season. Well, he's out indefinitely. No one really knows. So at worst, he'll be back in the playoffs or at the very end of the season. Huge blow to the Tennessee Titans, as he has accounted for 70% of the team's total offense since 2019. He was on pace to rush again for 2,000 yards, possibly break the all-time single-season rushing mark, and he was on pace to rush for 18 touchdowns. Dude is a monster, so we'll be sad to see him go. Hopefully, because it's not an ACL and it's just kind of a foot, he can kind of get back to what he was. However, he's kind of been in the league 5 years now with all those carries on him. Does this injury may unfortunately make him take a step back? I'm not saying he will. I'm saying, is it one of those things where, you know, everyone after an ACL, you're not the same.
Right.
Unless if you're Adrian Peterson.
Well, to say this, who also has picked up and signed with the Tennessee Titans as one as their replacement back. They're looking to be a two-headed snake instead of a one. I did the petty thing and went and picked up. I was playing Derrick Henry this week. Saw injury went out, picked up all the good running backs off of the waivers, so my opponent couldn't. That's what we call strategy, boys and girls. It is sad. It is the foot. As someone who is still dealing with a foot injury that's over a year old now, it's one of those things, depending if it's a tendon or a bone, whatever it is, he could play with it. It could be more serious. He's a great guy, player. I hope to see him back and continuing to own it just like AP did. But it is what it is.
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers. Some drama regarding Aaron Rodgers yet again. Drama. So, Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of the season said when he was asked about whether or not he had the COVID vaccine, he says he is immunized. Now, to his defense, he didn't say that he was immunized against the COVID-19 virus, and it turns out he was not. He has contracted COVID-19. I would assume he's doing well. Of course, the media is not going to tell me how he's doing. But because he is not vaccinated, he now misses this week's game and next week's game. This week against Kansas City, and next week I believe against Dallas, but don't quote me on that. So again, this is kind of what the Packers front office during this kind of drama in the offseason was pointing to about how he's kind of, what's the word? How he's very
wishy-washy?
Wishy-washy. Yeah, he said he was vaccinated. Turns out he's not vaccinated.
You can still get the, unless it's confirmed that he wasn't vaccinated, you can still get the virus even if you were vaccinated.
No, I completely understand that, but because if he was vaccinated, he would only have to be out, I believe, 7 days, which means that he would be available for next week's game.
Right, I see what you're saying.
But because he's not, he's out a minimum of 10, which then forces this week's and next week's because he contracted it on
Listen, if I'm Aaron
Wednesday
Rodgers, this is everything that I would want, and at the same time, this is everything that you would want as the front office. You want an outside force to force your hand to see how true Jordan Love is. Okay, he's had 2 years to sit behind one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation, minus the greatest of all time. And let's see, whatever. Everybody, all of the Aaron Rodgers owners in fantasy are hearing that he's out 2 weeks are saying,
the fuck you are.
So it's just one of those things that is, it's going to be what it's going to be again. Like,
oh my
we'll
goodness.
see if that's,
We'll
see if that's what the Pat and Cheeseheads are saying after week 1 after Jordan Love. I have that sound just for this.
And I can just see Jason Bateman's face when he says that in the movie. It's just, oh my, it's so great. So we go from laughing to Simeon absolutely getting angry in his seat. So Simeon went on a rant last week about the NCAA, and he's about to just be irate here. Kofi Cockburn, who plays basketball at Illinois, he is one of the top players in the nation. Did you see this?
No.
Nope. Okay, great. Oh, I can't wait for this. The NCAA has suspended him 3 games for, and you gotta let me finish the whole thing.
All right.
For selling his memorabilia in June and making money on it. Okay? Now wait, it gets better.
Is that before name, image, and likeness was announced? Okay.
It was before name, image, and likeness was announced by a month.
Okay.
And at the time, he had declared for the NFL draft, but the NCAA in basketball has a rule that you can declare, see what your draft status is going to be, and then renege on the declare and go back to school.
NBA or NFL? You said NFL.
NBA.
Sorry.
He is a basketball player.
Okay.
So he declared for the NFL draft, sold memorabilia to make money. Yep. It was a month. This was in June. Yep. It was a month before name, image, and likeness.
Yep.
And then reneged. And so he technically still is a college student, so they suspended him 3 games for that.
Yeah, makes sense. Like
I really thought you would get more angry at
WTF.
that.
Like, not only will you not, like, let the guy, even though he came back, will you bless all the sins, then it doesn't matter anymore, right? Okay, you had it. Okay, what it statute of limitations is up. Okay, like, we redid it. Let's go back and release all the prisoners. We made this legal. Let's go back and release all the prisoners. No, he left, then came back, and now because he did something, you're punishing him for something you didn't do while he was living outside of your house. That's honestly what it is. It would be like mom and dad came over and gave you spankings, for having sex with your wife. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It is stupid, and it's exactly what the NCAA would do. So I'm not surprised by it at all.
Well, it enraged me, okay? I'm not enraged by it now, but no, you're right. This is not surprising at all. Something that the NCAA would do. And it's sad because not only was he gone to the NFL draft, then name and image and likeness came about. So again, you're right. It should have been he left, and they should have just kind of brushed it under the rug. But no, the NCAA just always has to be right, I guess. I don't know. They're a mess. And Mark Emmerick is... I don't know who's worse than Thanos. Marvel needs to present me with another big bad guy so I can just use him, because Roger Goodell's got Thanos already locked up. Anyway, that has been the Checkdown. That's been brought to you by you, the viewers. Everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us, get notifications so that you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Anchor.fm to support us and to see where you can listen to us, which is everywhere. Also, we are on Instagram at 4th and 1 Podcast. So, my man, week 9. First and foremost, the Big 10 officials. Oh my goodness. Could you be more trash?
Yeah, you could be this week's top 25 rankings.
Well done. So, let's just pick it up in the Big 10 officials. So, they were okay in the Ohio State-Penn State game. The two biggest games of the week were Ohio State-Penn State and Michigan State and Michigan. So, they were okay in Ohio State-Penn State. They injected themselves into the Michigan State game. So, Michigan State, first of all, I told you all Michigan would have a lead, a 10-point, 7-point lead, and they would probably blow it. And I'll get to that in a second. Shocker. Because they did. Yeah, right. Michigan is 20 to 14. It is late in the first half. Michigan State is backed up. Michigan comes off the corner, one of their defensive end, and sacks the quarterback. As he's going to the ground, he fumbles the football. It rolls into the end zone. It is recovered by Aiden Hutchinson for a touchdown. The ruling on the field was a touchdown. That is very important, that the ruling on the field was a fumble recovery by Michigan and a touchdown. They went to replay review, and no images, no shots of the camera that they show, because they show the shots that the refs are viewing, had an angle that both his knee was down and he still had possession. There were some angles where you could see possession and you could see the knee, but not both at the same time. And it was iffy whether or not he had possession and the knee was down, if you would, to match the images. So under the NCAA official rule book, you must have indisputable evidence to overturn a call. Simeon, do you know what indisputable evidence means?
Evidence that is, everybody would have to say, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Evidence that you cannot doubt. Okay? The sky is blue. The sun is hot. The earth is round. Don't even start, Simeon. The earth is round.
You're good, I wouldn't.
These are indisputable evidences. So based on that definition, these refs did not have indisputable evidence to mark the quarterback down. That would have made it 27 to 14. Michigan then would have gotten the ball at the second to start the second half, which they did, and they went down the field and scored. Now, Michigan got the punt, went down, and right before the half kicked a field goal. It was a 4-point swing. Michigan lost the game by how much, Simeon?
3 points.
Nope.
4 points.
Now listen. I'm not here to say that the refs caused Michigan to lose. Michigan did that by allowing now Heisman front runner Kenneth Walker to run for 200 yards and 5 touchdowns on them and just piss down their leg every time they go to tackle him. But I'm saying that should at least be an overtime game at the very minimum. That should be a Michigan foot on the throat stepping on it instead of foot on the balls stepping on it. One kills someone, one just makes them very, very uncomfortable. And Michigan State withstood the ball stepping because of the refs, removed the foot, and then throat punched Michigan late. Now the other thing to go in this is, I'm not going to get into Harbaugh and his record. He's 3-4 against Michigan State. I don't care. Michigan State is a much, this was such an even game, okay? I came out on this side of it actually feeling better about Michigan than I did beforehand, because Michigan, every time Michigan controlled the game for about 58 minutes of the game. And then 58 minutes of the game. And then even every time Michigan State punched them right in the face, they absorbed the punch and punched them right back. Now, they didn't have it at the end, but what really changed the game was true freshman J McCarthy, who I have talked about on this show, who I had just last week. Podcast host curse. Said that JJ would take Cade McNamara's job. Well, Cade McNamara went out on Saturday and balled out. Cade McNamara had 400 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. It was late. The defense kind of tricked him. He was kind of trying to drive downfield for a game-winning touchdown. I won't necessarily hold that against him. Yes, he probably shouldn't have thrown it, but,
Hero
that's his
ball.
Second. Yeah, that's his second interception on the season, okay? Michigan State was expecting in a pass. Anyway, J McCarthy was in there. Michigan had just forced a punt. They were up 33-30. Michigan, J McCarthy is in. And the previous drive, the drive that they went up 33-30, he fumbled the ball out of bounds, which stalled out that drive. Now, he fumbled the ball inbounds. Michigan State accidentally kicked it out of bounds, so it was still Michigan ball. He then came back in the very first play on the next drive, and during a handoff, fumbled the football to the running back. On the very next play, Kenneth Walker scoots 45 yards for a touchdown, and that ends up being the game winner. This has kind of always been my problem with Harbaugh, and this will kind of go into what we talk about with Michigan moving forward, and what I need to see from them this week is, how do they not only come back from this loss? Does this team actually have swagger, or do they fold? Do they come back and blow it? They're favored by 20. Do they come back and just in a bad mood, in a bad attitude, and just rail Indiana, who has their third string quarterback, and they just shove it down their throat and they say, fine, we're done with this? But Jim Harbaugh, if you fumble the football and you're a true freshman, and Cade's not playing well, that's one thing to insert him back. Cade McNamara was on fire. I have never seen a quarterback since Baker Mayfield control the pace of a game the way Cade McNamara was on Saturday in a big-time top 10 matchup. Cade McNamara had the offense going the entire way. Cade McNamara took blame for the loss. The difference was Michigan kicked 4 field goals in the red zone, and Michigan State scored 5 touchdowns in the red zone. Cade McNamara says he has to execute better, the offense has to execute better, and he has to be better, and the interception's on him. He took complete blame for that loss. That loss is not on Cade McNamara. That loss is on Michigan's defense, who, again, another season allows big play after big play. This time not in the passing game. The passing game was actually good. They forced 2 interceptions, held Peyton Thorne under 200 yards, but it was the running game. It was missing tackles. Now, if Kenneth Walker goes on to win the Heisman and, goes on to be a Hall of Fame running back, this looks way different. But they were missing tackles. They were out of gaps. They allowed a the play calling on 4th and 4. They play press man-to-man against their best receiver, and they let it go all the way down to the 2. And if they would have made that stop, maybe played some zone and made that stop, guess what? They get the ball back. That happened about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. They kind of wind the clock even more because Michigan State did not stop Michigan all afternoon. They did. Michigan had over 500 yards of total offense, almost 600 yards of total offense. It was just the 2 turnovers, the one late I touched on, and then, of course, the J McCarthy. So, Simeon, how do you feel about Michigan after this loss? Do you feel better? Do you feel worse about them?
I feel about the same because I saw it coming. I really hoped he wasn't. I honestly feel worse about this stupid ranking. I'm looking right now. They have 2 5-3 teams ranked in the top 25.
Okay, all right.
You need to go faster, okay?
Okay.
I honestly feel the same about them. I will be professional. I honestly feel the same about them. It didn't surprise me. I turned on the game to see the interception thrown. It didn't surprise me. Michigan can't show up for big moments. It's part of what it is. I felt sad on the inside. I was having a bad day to begin with, so it doesn't surprise me. I feel about the same. Maybe they can turn around, but like that one guy's shirt this year, just beat Ohio State. Just I don't care if you lose the rest as long as you beat Ohio State, we're fine. I want to see how they respond to this game. If they come out in a bad mood and shellac Indiana by 45, I'm going to be like, this team is different. Mentality-wise, this team is different. Now, their defense needs to learn and learn fast. Especially against Indiana.
Against Indiana, a team you shouldn't overlook, and then Travion Henderson for Ohio State. If you miss tackles against Travion Henderson, he's a true freshman for Ohio. He will run all over you, and that's the one thing Michigan just can't do. They cannot give up the big play, especially in the run game. So I want to see if Michigan really is going to learn from this. If they not, I think this is a perfect opportunity for Michigan to kind of part ways with Harbaugh at the end of the season, because it's been rinse and repeat. Every flaw Michigan has had over the past 5 years is just rinse and repeat, and it's like they don't learn, either on offense or on defense. This year, it seems like they've learned, right? Everyone's like, oh, they can't throw. Well, turns out they can. Oh, they can't run. Oh, turns out they can. Their defense, it's been like, oh, yeah, they're good. And now this is the first time where it's like, are they? So, I don't know. So, this is a wait and see. But listen, I cannot tell you how impressed I was with Kenneth Walker. Dude's a beast. I don't know how Wake Forest let him go.
Yeah, five touchdowns. When you go against that Michigan, what did I say last? I said, and I texted you this after the game. I said it was going to be a game that was decided by the running game and the defense. It's whichever one showed up. Both of them had to show up, and Michigan State's defense showed up more than Michigan's defense did, and so that's who won.
And Michigan State's offense or running game showed up more than Michigan's did. Well, Michigan wasn't the only person to blow a double-digit lead on Saturday. Texas, for the third game in a row, blows a not only fourth-quarter lead, but a double-digit second-half lead to Baylor. Meanwhile, Baylor's rolling. Baylor is ranked 12 in the CFP rankings, everybody. So just keep an eye on Baylor. That's good news from Oklahoma. But I've said this at the beginning of the season, you just need to give Sark time. He came out today and he says, I understand the frustration. And I do too. But this is just this team not being conditioned well. It is Sark's first year. They are transitioning from a old scheme to a new scheme. Just give it some time. Okay? in Nick Saban's first year, they lost to Louisiana Monroe at home as an 28-point favorite. Just give him a minute, okay? Next year, if they're blowing double-digit leads in 3 straight games, holler back at me.
Ain't no back, girl.
Iowa's offense, it was just, they were never a top 2 team with that offense. Simeon, I will just give you a little teaser. I don't know how they're ranked either. I really don't. Between them and Wisconsin blew them out by like 20. They're both half a team. They can both run the football sometimes and play good defense sometimes. They're like half a football team. But Iowa, I don't get it. Georgia continues to just woo. That was a train whistle. Roll on. They hammer Florida. Meanwhile, Dan Mullins, it was... I don't know if you saw this game. It was 3-0 with 2:35 to go in the first half. Georgia. What then happened was Anthony Richardson fumble in his own territory.
Nice.
Right, inside the 20-yard line. Georgia score. It was then a pick six by Georgia. So that's 17-0. And then it was a Florida punt, because Georgia still had all 3 times out. Florida punt and deep pass for 35 yards. A pretty pass by Stetson Bennett to the corner of the end zone. 20. So in legitimately 2 minutes and 30. There were 2:35 left. So in 2 minutes and 32 seconds, they scored 21 unanswered points.
Nice.
That's what I'm looking for.
Nice.
However, Georgia, is it Stetson Bennett? Is it JT Daniels? Listen, Georgia's defense is elite. It's the best in the country. It's going to be pushed, though. I just want to see what happens if an Ohio State, a Bama, someone, Michigan State, I don't care who, puts up 24 points on them. Puts up 31 points on them. Is that offense good enough to control that game to keep up with high scoring? And I think Ohio State has the firepower to do it. Speaking of Ohio State, it's exactly how I thought the game would go before Clifford's injury. So this was 2 weeks ago, before the Iowa game. I thought it was going to be a 10-point game. I thought it was going to be a game into the second half, into the fourth quarter. It was. Penn State still can't run the football. That was still their Achilles heel. So good news for Michigan when they play in a couple weeks, unless if Michigan's run defense shows up again. But Penn State and Sean Clifford put up 350 yards passing on Ohio State. So, Simeon, how do you feel about your prediction? Ohio State played a real team and lost by 9. Won by 9.
I mean, I rank them above Alabama right now, if that answers your question.
Okay, no, it does. Michigan State and Penn State's defensive strategy was exactly the same. It was, we are going to let Michigan and Ohio State respectively move in between the 20s as much as you want, because we have no other option, because Michigan State's defense sucks, and Penn State's defense, you can't hold down Ohio State forever. But we're going to force you to kick field goals inside the red zone. And that's exactly what happened. One got burned, still got burned from it. That'd be Penn State. And one, it was successful, and that's Michigan State. And so maybe these top-tier offenses, that's just what it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be, we're going to force you to kick field goals. Now, Michigan scores on 97% of red zone trips. Problem is, they only score touchdown. That's like second best in the country. Problem is, they only score on like 60. They only score touchdowns on like 62% of red zone trips, and that's like 70th in the country. So there's some give and take there. And then my last note on what happened in Week 8 is, Brady Hoke. Brady Hoke lost to Fresno State. Guess what? They couldn't throw the ball at all. And it makes me so happy, because it just makes me so happy.
They're playing defense. 64 points allowed in conference, 90 points for. So they're just trying to win by defense. Not going to work, and he shouldn't be ranked. But neither is Fresno State. So I don't.
So we got breaking news. We got breaking news about college football here.
I'm scrolling down to find the.
Oh no. College football playoff expansion discussions tabled until December 1st, with consensus needed by January for 2024 format.
No!
Well, I mean, theoretically, it's only 2 years away.
Theoretically, I'm going to be 25. Theoretically, I could have a kid. No! Give it to us next year!
Hi.
Why
I
do you do this to me?
I can't take you out right now, so you're going to have to wait.
Oh, my gosh. The NCAA hates us.
No, you're just a drama queen. You know what? You know what? Because of that news, college football playoff rankings came out, and boy, does Simeon obviously have a problem with it if he can just pick himself back up. So first and foremost, so I gave you it in the open. Georgia, we don't have a problem with number one, right?
Yeah, we're both saying Georgia's number one team.
Number two
should be Cincinnati.
Who do you have? Okay, no, wrong.
That's where they were last week.
Wrong.
That's where they were last week. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're still there in the AP. That's where they were last week.
I don't care about the AP. They should be 4. Their level of competition and how they've looked against their level of competition recently has not been number 2 worthy.
Okay, fine. 3 or 4. I don't care. Put Michigan State at number 2.
Okay, so you have Cincinnati.
Sure.
I have Ohio State. Okay.
I put them at 3 or 4. Wherever we're not putting Cincinnati, put Ohio State.
All right, let's do it this way. Do you have a problem with Michigan State at 3?
No. I actually don't. They're more like 5 to me right now, but I don't have too big of a problem. I think Ohio State's a better team from an eye test perspective. Duh. But I don't have a problem with them in top 6, top 5.
So let me give my top 10.
Yeah.
I have Georgia, Ohio State. I have Alabama. I have Cincy 4 out of respect. Listen, they beat a Notre Dame team who the committee has sitting at 10. So they have a top 10 win on the road. So I have Cincy out of respect. I then have Michigan State at 5 because that secondary is not. Ohio State is going to throw for 900,000 yards on Michigan State second. If Michigan can do it, Ohio State can do it. I have Oklahoma then. Tough losses, fine, but they've been coming on late. I have Oregon, Michigan, again, kind of really impressed me even in a loss. Baylor, watch out for them. Auburn, they have the 2 best losses in all of college football. Notre Dame and Wake. Those are my top 12, technically.
Yeah. Here, I see they have... Oh, my gosh. Okay. I'll give you my top 10, but I just want to say this. This is how horny the College Football Playoff Committee, and I do use the word horny because this is the only way that someone is this rabid about anything. Sorry, I'm pulling up this SEC standings.
You don't even got to go SEC. You can go Big 10.
Here, yeah, sure. That's number 2. I'm about to get there. Don't worry.
All right, go for it, my man.
From the SEC West, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 7 teams are ranked, and one of them is 5-3 overall. Guess what of the 7th ranked team? Guess what the record is? Who happens to be Arkansas? Guess what their overall record of Arkansas is?
5-3.
5-3. Sorry, Mom, I've been sweary since I moved out.
No, I was listening to the college football podcast, ESPN, and that was, how do you have a 5-3 Wisconsin ranked and not a 5-3 Arkansas ranked?
Yeah, or Purdue. Purdue is ranked above Wisconsin, and they have Wisconsin ranked above Purdue. So here's my top 10, and then we'll get back to just how trash this is. Okay? Georgia, I'm going to say Georgia, Cincinnati, Michigan State, Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, and then throw Michigan, Wake, Notre Dame, Baylor in there to round out. Like, it doesn't matter. Or throw them in any order. Just roll the dice, throw them in there. You know, it's really the top. Right. It's really top 6 for me. First 2 out, sort of deal.
My biggest problem with Cincinnati sitting at 6 is that there's no. They need help to get in.
Yeah.
If you put them at 4, then it's like, okay, you win out, you're in.
Right.
But even if they win out, if Ohio State wins out, they're in. If Oregon wins out, they're in. If Alabama wins out, they're in. And Georgia, even with one loss, which would be theoretically just to Alabama,
right,
they're in.
Right. Here's the deal. Cincinnati needs Alabama to lose. Cincinnati needs Alabama and Oregon to lose now. Now, to me, Cincinnati has had a better season than Oregon has. Because of that good win, because Notre Dame keeps winning, because of that good win to Notre Dame. I also agree with you. I'd be okay if Auburn was ranked 12. I think that's the best 2-loss team we've seen in the college football playoff era. I really do. I don't get why San Diego State or Fresno State is ranked right now, or Pittsburgh.
I'm okay with Fresno State.
You know who's not ranked right now? Who should be?
Who's that?
University of Texas San Antonio. 8-0 team. There are 4 8-0 teams. The Roadrunners are not ranked right now.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Why aren't the Roadrunners ranked? They're 8-0.
Why? Let me tell you some teams that could be ranked.
Why is Iowa and Wisconsin ranked?
Right. All right.
They are a half a team. Iowa cannot throw the football at all. Wisconsin can barely throw the football.
The Louisiana Raging Cajuns, 7-1 overall, allows 78 points. That's top 5 defense from a conference perspective. From a points allowed perspective, that's literally, well, let's say top 6. I looked it up.
I mean, Georgia's allowed like 63 points all year, so that can't be that far off.
Yeah. Okay, there are, you know who's allowed less points, who also has, I think, a slightly better record? I have to find them. Yeah, at 5-3, which, by the way, we're letting into the college football playoff with 50 points allowed in conference, is the UAB Blazers. They are currently ranked 2nd in the Conference USA West, only to the Roadrunners, who take on the UTEP Miners this Saturday, by the way, 6-2. It just, like, Iowa Hawkeyes, 22.
So
6-2.
So our bigger problem is the back half, the last 15. Right?
I feel like they just said, who do I like? Whose color do I like? And they just threw a bulletin board at the map and a dart at the map, and they picked that team. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Fresno State, San Diego State, Pittsburgh, BYU, Mississippi State. Unrank them all. Legitimately. From 15 backwards, I'm only happy with Kentucky being there.
I'm actually okay with Mississippi State. I am okay with Mississippi State.
Because they beat Alabama? Maybe at 23, maybe at 24.
No, they didn't beat Texas A&M beat Alabama.
Well,
I'm okay.
Where are you putting Mississippi State? Where are you putting them?
No, near the bottom.
Yeah.
What are they ranked right now?
They're ranked way too high. They're at 17.
Yeah, no, I'm putting them back a little bit.
They can... Mississippi State, if they played Pittsburgh, win. San Diego State, win. Fresno State, win. Iowa, win. Wisconsin, win. Minnesota, win. Okay. They would beat every team that they're ranked above right now if they played them. But those teams shouldn't be there.
Well, I'm happy Minnesota's actually ranked. Minnesota does have the worst loss probably on it because they did lose to an FCS school, but they also lost to Ohio State. But now Minnesota, on their 4th and 5th string running back, are running the ball 70% of the time and running for like 300 yards a game.
Running backs are hard doesn't. Good running backs are hard to find.
Well, what? I'm happy.
I'm Alpha.
I'm happy Minnesota's ranked. What I don't get is Baylor's better than Wake Forest. I cannot tell you how bad Wake Forest defense
Auburn's better than Wake Forest.
Auburn is better than Wake Forest, absolutely.
A 2-loss Auburn team, but I'm okay that they're top 10 because there ain't no. Let us be nice to the unbeaten teams, okay? Can we be nice? We're in week. What are we? Week 10 now? Week 9?
Yeah, week 10.
We're in week 10 now.
You are right. To be 8-0 even if it's against lesser competition, should still get you ranked.
I don't care if you're 8-0 in freaking flag football at the Nook. If you're 8-0 anywhere, that's impressive. Do you know the odds for that? I don't, but they're not easy.
I don't. BYU sitting at 15.
No, should not be ranked.
I'm Texas A&M at 14. I actually think is perfect. But what people don't understand is if Auburn wins out, they're going to Atlanta to play Georgia in the SEC title game. Auburn has a shot to make the college football playoff as a 2-loss team.
Yeah.
Because they went to Penn State.
Yeah.
And they played Georgia.
I like for the first time this season, I like the AP poll. I think it's great. I think it's perfect. Maybe move around 6 through 7. Again, I think I'd swap Ohio State and Alabama.
Don't they have Michigan 9?
They have Michigan 9. I would swap Ohio State and
that.
Alabama. Again, I think Alabama is not a top 5 team yet. They're almost there. They're not there. I think Ohio State is a top 3. You could even put them at 2. I don't care. That's how good their offense is. I'm sorry. So I think this is what the problem that the committee's having. Just real quick. They hate non-Power 5 teams. That's the problem. They love the Big 10 and they love. I can carry this whole segment. I don't need your help.
Who's winning, Georgia or Cincinnati? By how many touchdowns?
By 2.
Who's winning, Cincinnati, Alabama? By how many touchdowns?
1, Alabama.
Okay, that's wrong. Who's winning? Michigan State, Cincinnati by how many touchdowns?
1, Michigan. Yeah, that's even.
That's even because Michigan State,
Ohio State,
defense,
3 touchdowns.
And Oregon. I think Oregon is actually
might lose.
Oregon might lose. I actually think that you are correct. So out of the top.
And I only say Georgia. I only say Georgia by 1 or 2 touchdowns because they're playing defense this year. They're not accelerating their offense. This isn't Bo Nix. This isn't Auburn.
Out of the top 5 teams above them, Cincinnati's losing more than likely
3
to 4.
No, 3.
4. So now you have them beating Michigan State.
Oh, the Michigan State's the close one. It could go either way.
So they're beating Oregon, and then they could go either way.
Oh, Michigan
but they are getting dominated by Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Now,
and Ohio, I don't know who's the question mark there. I feel like one of those is like Notre Dame, and therefore they could be close to. But that's just me.
I honestly, I think the question mark there is Alabama.
I do too.
For whatever reason, Alabama,
they're on and off here.
Their defense will just fall asleep. Like halfway through a game, and it'll be like, oh my gosh, we've just given up 35 points.
It's like it's like Kansas City's offense until the fourth quarter. Yeah, 100%.
The sleeper team is number 8 Oklahoma.
100%, 100% accurate.
Oklahoma could put up points on Bama, Ohio State, Michigan State, Oregon. I mean, Michigan for that. I mean, they would railroad. I mean, they would probably put up 45 easily against both Ohio State, Michigan State, Oregon. Alabama would be a closer game. Again, this is all I'm just assuming Georgia's defense is holding these high-powered offenses behind them to 24 or fewer points. But that's asking a lot of your offense to go out and score.
I mean, you have to score 24 points against Georgia's defense. That's the thing. That's the shocking thing, is you have to score that many points against Georgia's defense, and then more. Because Georgia's can easily put up 21 points. That's not a problem. It's that 7 points from 21 to 28 for both teams that they have to figure out. So it's really who wants to beat Georgia and who can beat Georgia. It's not a question to me that Georgia's the number 1 team and we should just give them a bye week and put a 5th team in. Just give them the semifinal. Give them the final. Play 4 teams to see who plays Georgia. Give me that answer. But this is the problem I have. I have no problem that they released it. I have no problem with the top 10, okay? AP top 10 and college football top 10, very close. Again, I'm switching Alabama and Ohio State. The problem that I had with this ranking is the lack of respect for the college football as a whole, and for the people as a whole, and for the kids as a whole. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get the Coastal Carolinas who will beat up on the BYUs. Or you're going to get the Leicester cities of the college football who pull off one in a million. You're not going to get that in the NFL. You're not going to get that anywhere else. Last time that happened, it was the 80s or the 70s, and we were beating the USSR at hockey. So this is the more of the problem that I have, is the respect thing. Give the you want football to be better, you got to respect everybody. And what you did is you bowed down to the white kids up north and the white kids down south and all their money that their daddies have, and you ranked their kids. Because why not? Because we're biased. And this is the first time that we're seeing the college football playoff committee being biased hurt college football. It was a good idea to begin with because it gave better arguments in the room. But now we're forgetting about the non-loud voices that are outside. I guarantee you Coastal Carolina, SMU, Houston, University of San Antonio, they A, don't have the money, and B, don't have the respect enough to get inside the room and their voices heard inside the room. And that's the problem that I'm having with this. I don't care about the top 5. Let's see how it pans out. I care about I care about 15 and back.
You're absolutely right. I like what you said there because they are disrespecting. They're disrespecting. They're putting. Hang on, I want to get my words right. They're putting no stock in the group of 5.
Right.
They are saying that the group of 5 will get dominated 10 out of 10 times every Saturday by no matter what Power 5 school they go up against, except for Cincinnati, and they would even get dominated by, the handful of teams.
Which 3 or 4 out of 5 teams they're going to get dominated by.
Right, which might be right. But here's the deal. It's actually closer to 7 out of 10 times, because if you give these very smart coaches and these kids motivation and one game to go out and beat these schools, it will be a game. Western Michigan, the undefeated PJ Fleck, before he was at Minnesota with at Western Michigan, undefeated season there. Guess what? They went out against Wisconsin. They lost a 4-point game, but they went toe-to-toe with Wisconsin's running game. UCF played Auburn, a very hot Auburn team who was about to make the Natty before they lost to Georgia. They were the number 2 ranked team in the nation before they lost to Georgia in the SEC title game. Went out and hammered them. Dominated them in terms of tempo and how they played the game.
And these are these Cincinnati and these UCF teams are the type of teams you want in the playoff. Because you put Cincinnati, again, I get Cincinnati has an okay road to the top. It's not good. It would be much better if they were at 4 or 5. But you want these teams because on a good day, in the right conditions, Cincinnati's beating Alabama. Cincinnati's beating Oregon or Michigan State. That's who they have to beat. And all of a sudden, discussion changes. We're okay with the small guy winning. I don't get why they won't give that to us. We don't.
I don't know why, but this is almost why this is bad. This is almost good at the same time, because this is exactly why we need an expanded playoff. And I hope that they vote on it, and I hope that they pass it December 1st, because it is darn time. Because it would take the 6 highest rated conference champions, and then it would do the next 6 at-large bids or whatever. But guess what? Last year would have been Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati would have been. So that's 2 group of 5s. The fact that SMU and Houston aren't ranked, both with 1 loss, especially Houston, who's been just insanely hot of recently, is
came back to win against SMU, by the way.
Hey, what? You know what? I didn't even go over that, and I should have. Walk off, kick return for a touchdown. SMU ties the game on a field goal. They then kick the ball off with like 20 seconds left. Houston takes the kickoff return, 102 yards for a touchdown. They're ridiculously high, and it's asinine that these teams aren't ranked. It's asinine UTSA is not ranked at 8-0. It is asinine. Is Coastal Carolina ranked?
No, they're not.
I don't think so. It is asinine. They're not ranked. Like, they need to put better stock into the group of 5. The fact that, and I've touched on this, Wisconsin and Iowa, and you mentioned Pittsburgh. There's
San
a
Diego
handful.
State, Fresno State,
San Diego State. I'm
North
okay
Carolina
with Fresno
State.
NC State. Like, the fact that these teams are ranked above them, especially, I just cannot get over Wisconsin and Iowa. And then you're going to rank Wisconsin, but then you're not even going to rank, and I won't even take it too far, Penn State, who has the exact same record.
Yeah.
And beat Wisconsin.
Right.
At their place, week 1.
Right.
All because they lost to Illinois. Well, Wisconsin has looked like absolute garbage.
Right.
Iowa's look like garbage.
Right.
Iowa gets blown out by 3 touchdowns to Penn State if Sean Clifford doesn't get hurt. And you think I'm kidding. I'm not. It's 3 touchdowns, and it's easy.
And Penn State's ranked 4 or 3 right now.
You're right. They're putting no stock, and that is the most asinine thing in the group of 5, and it is very sad, and I hope that they kind of adjust. Cincinnati, again, we touched on it. It's going to be kind of hard for them moving forward, because even if, say, Michigan wins out, Michigan State beats Ohio State, but Ohio State beats, like, they're both like 11-1 at the time, or they're both 10-1 at the time, and so Michigan State is out. Michigan's jumping Cincinnati. Oklahoma still has to play Oklahoma State and Baylor, 2 ranked teams.
Yep.
2 top 12 teams. And if they beat them both and they beat them convincingly, Oklahoma's jumping Michigan, Cincinnati, and into the top 4.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It'll be an interesting slate. Game day is going to be at Cincinnati this week. Cincinnati has Tulsa, a much lesser opponent. But Cincinnati needs to go out this week and prove the committee wrong. They need to go out and they need to hammer Tulsa. Tulsa's 3-5. You need not this to be a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter. You are at home at night. This is a 40-point beatdown, and it's 28-0 at halftime.
Yeah, you're favored by 22.5 points right now.
This needs to be a beat.
You need
if you're
to cover
Cincinnati,
and then some.
If you're Cincinnati, this is not... Luke Fickell, you can say all you want is, we don't care, we're just finding ways to win. That's not good enough, clearly. You need to go out and hammer Tulsa. This needs to be we are angry at you. Okay? Meanwhile, number 13, Auburn's is an underdog by 4.5 at Texas, number 14, Texas A&M. The over-under is 49. First and foremost, you take that over. Simeon, I would say that could be actually your lock of the week here, but I'm not going to judge you. Auburn coming off a big home win over Ole Miss. Now they're going on the road. We all know about Bo Nix. Between home and away, Bo Nix, he's 2 different people. Texas A&M is red hot after coming off back-to-back losses. One with their backup quarterback, and then their other they just lose to Mississippi State, which is whatever. But then they beat Bama and they reel off all these wins. Texas A&M coming off of a bye. Can they run the ball is the big thing. So they are really run heavy, and in all their wins so far, they've outrushed the opponent. So can they run the ball on Auburn? That's the thing. So can Bo Nix not turn the ball over? Can Zach Calzada continue this hot streak? And can Texas A&M run the ball on Auburn? And this is a 13-14 matchup. So this kind of... Auburn needs this game to have a shot still at the college football playoff, still at an SEC title game appearance. Texas A&M isn't quite out of it either, even with 2 losses. If Bama gets another loss, and they beat Auburn here, they might find their way to Atlanta. So the over-under is 49. I'm hammering that over, and I think that that's pretty easy. Now watch them go under here. But I think that this is a 27, 24, 20, 28, 31 type game. I do, just because they're coming off a bye, that alone, with Jimbo Fisher, he's going to cook up something. It's on the road, it's 3:30. I like Texas A&M. And I think it's a 7-point game, a 5 to 7 point game. So I think you take Texas A&M. I would take them outright and what I would do is I would take them outright and take the over. To make up your odds, I would take Texas A&M and take the over because I don't like the 4.5 at all. Okay, Grinch. What, do you have your
Liberty's
lock of the week?
Playing Ole Miss this week. I didn't realize that. That makes me so happy.
Liberty is playing Ole Miss this week, which I was almost going to touch on, and then I was like, well, Liberty's not ranked because Liberty gets no respect. So,
well, they also have 2 losses. One to University of Louisiana Monroe.
Monroe, yes. I know.
The other 2, Syracuse, which I'm also happy about. Yeah, I'm okay with this. They're going to lose their next 3 games against Ole Miss, Louisiana, and Army. The quarterback's going to get drafted in the 4th round pick. Yeah, I already have a hatred for Liberty from a really a theological perspective, but that's beside the point. Go with their kids and Hugh Freeze, whatever. Go redeem yourself. I don't care, but you should still be an FCS school, in my opinion. Anyway, what's your next game?
That took a weird turn.
I know.
Okay. Number 9, Wake. So I haven't touched on Wake a lot this year, so I felt like I give them love. Just real quick, the slate of the game, to do the podcast host curse, the slate is not intriguing on paper, so I'm hoping that we do get some good games like a few weeks ago when I said it wasn't intriguing. So just some of these games have potential to be blowouts. A lot of them at the top especially have potential to be blowouts, but we'll see where it goes. However, number 9, Wake Forest is an underdog on the road against North Carolina. Wake Forest is getting 2.5 right off the bat. Sam Hartman has thrown for 2,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. North Carolina, this is kind of, you're 4-4. You were a top 10 team to start the season. Can you salvage the season? And can you run the football? Both of these teams' defenses give up about 400 yards per game. This should be a shootout at its finest. They both play sketchy defense. Can UNC run the ball on Wake, whose run defense is a little better than their pass defense, but Wake's going to get whatever they want, and UNC's going to get whatever they want. Here's the thing. The over-under 76.
Dang. And
I know that, and I don't know what you want to, but if you go look at in the last 5 games of both teams, both of these teams are scoring 35 a game in their last 5 games, if not more.
If I'm going to take an over-under that's been that high, it's probably with Wake. I'm not going to lie.
It's Wake and UNC because they can both.
Yeah.
And it's just Wake just doesn't play defense. Wake gave up 34 points to Syracuse, who can't move the football at all.
Right.
Wake gave up 56 to Army, a triple option team.
Right.
They literally in that game says, you know what, Army's just going to score. We're just going to outscore them. Done.
It's like they were playing the I forget what it was called, the run and gun, basically the run and shoot basketball. Yep. Don't play defense, shoot more 3 points, basically.
Yep. I am taking UNC, who is favored. I just think Wake Forest, this is Wake Forest. Oh, we're top 10. Oh, yes. Oh, we got offense. We got this. We got this. We got this. Your defense still sucks. And you're on the road now.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a Wake Forest, go out and prove it. But I think that this is Vegas knows something. I like UNC here because Wake Forest just doesn't play defense. North Carolina, I kind of trust them a little bit more to play defense, even though they don't play defense either. So North Carolina minus 2.5. Over, under. This isn't an official prediction. I would also take the over. I see this being a 42, 45, 49, 56 sort of game. Lots of points scored. That's a noon, so, you got an offensive showcase at noon, which is good. And then finally, Michigan State is only a 3-point favorite at Purdue, and I'll tell you why. Because Michigan State gave up 400 yards to Cade McNamara and Michigan's offense, Michigan State's defense is allowing 300 pass yards a game. Their defense is not good. They have Kenneth Walker, who I expect to get his and set more Heisman moments. Purdue, they win when they don't turn the ball over. Every single time they've lost, they've had 2+ turnovers. And every time they win, they have 0 turnovers. It's that simple. So is Purdue going to turn the ball over, or are they not? So Michigan State gives up 300 pass yards a game. Purdue passes the ball for 307 pass yards a game. I expect their Purdue's quarterback to just throw the ball round. I expect this to be high score. The over-under is 54. I would also hammer that over. I really would. And can they keep Michigan State's explosion plays down? Michigan State is a very average offense when it's not explosion plays. And it's just like I said last week. It's explosion, then it's mediocre, 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 punt. Mediocre, explosion, mediocre, mediocre, mediocre. Explosion, mediocre, explosion. So you get what I'm saying. So can Purdue keep that? Purdue's actually got a pretty nice defense. They've got a solid defense, not nice. I am taking Michigan State minus the 3. I think just Mel Tucker has this team fighting. I do think it's a close game. I think it's a game into the fourth quarter. I could be wrong, but I am taking Michigan State minus 3, and I'm taking the over as well. Not an official prediction, but what are you taking? Are you taking... Do you not care anymore? Have you checked it out?
No. I think I'm going to take
Michigan depressed?
State. No, I think they're on a roll. I really do. I think I'm going to take Michigan State. I don't think Purdue is that real. However, they are the best team, one of the better teams in the West. So, go on, Purdue. No, I just found out a new stadium that I didn't know existed. That
I will let you get to that in just a second. Do you have a lock of the week?
Well, first of all, Air Force is playing Army this week. Take Air Force over Army. I know Army looked good at the beginning of the season. Air Force is playing better. Only a 2-loss team right now. They're also playing off-site. This is what I figured out in Choctaw Stadium, where the Dallas Renegades played. That was used to be the Texas Rangers Stadium.
Okay.
My lock of the week's in the NFL this week is Kansas City over Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers is out.
Solid take.
I think Kansas City, it's about time for Kansas City to figure out why they're playing hero ball and trying to play football. And I think Andy Reid isn't an idiot, and he's going to get his team together here. And I think they're going to beat a semi-rudderless Green Bay team. And I think that's what we got.
My lock of the week, I expect Michigan to come out in a very bad mood. Well, I'm hoping, but I also expect. I like the swagger of this Michigan team. They got punched in the face by Michigan State over and over, and they got up and they answered the bell. They just fell short in the 11th out of 12th round. They're favored by 20. I expect this to be a 35-30-point game. I think Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins just pound Indiana, and if it's not them, then it's going to be Cade McNamara and Andrell Anthony, the true freshman that stood out last week against Michigan State, and Cornelius Johnson and the tight ends. It's going to be one or the other, but Cade McNamara is going to come out. They're going to play efficient. They're going to score a lot of touchdowns, and they're just going to beat up on Indiana at night at the Big House because they feel disrespected now. Because they felt like they should have won that game, and you could make the argument they could.
I'm there. Yep, you're good.
Everyone, I kind of feel like Simeon got depressed a little bit after we talked about the college football playoff.
I'm used to it.
The energy just fell right off the cliff.
Well, I was more interested in Choctaw Stadium, which is not racist, by the way.
I didn't think it was, but thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
All right, everyone. It has come to that time at end of the show. So, just to recalibrate, we have Texas A&M. You hammer the over at 49. UNC to win the game, and if you're feeling lucky, go with the over 76, and then you take Michigan State minus the 3 there, and I would also hit the over on that. So, this has been the 4th and 1 podcast. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Enjoy your college football Saturday. Wash your hands, you filthy animals, because y'all are nasty. Be kind to one another. Treat each other with respect. We'll see you next week, and it's going to be a good one next week. God bless you. Peace out.